There we go. Okay, so now that we're starting over, thank goodness I didn't get very far. Just dry brush the center of this top wrapper with warm white. Then get out your honey brown and a flat or an angle brush, and we're going to do some shading. And use right here. So you're going to do the sections. So it's going to be the first, this edge right here. Now I'm painting on a canvas because I didn't want to do another wood one. So my floats might look a little different. So I'm going to mop those out. So you're going to do one. And these are curved. Two. Okay. And this third one, it's not quite as curved because it's more in the center. You're looking straight on. Okay. And then I'm actually going to use a different brush. You're going to flip the piece over. It's just easier to do the other side that way. Okay, so you can go here, this side. I want to keep checking to make sure nobody's in the waiting room. Okay. Then you're going to go right here. Heavy. Side, and then you got this little, these are kind of close. And then you have the one right in the center. Okay. Now we're going to go back with some highlights too, so I think so. If you lose your highlight, you can go back and float in your warm white. Because I kind of lost it right here. So just like that. Okay, so then you're going to go across the top and across the bottom with your honey brown, just like this. Okay. Now we're going to reinforce this with cinnamon stick. Or you can use, you could even use raw sienna if you wanted, or burnt sienna. Just want something darker than this honey. Okay. So once you get your honey brown, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Even though this one, if you're, I might have messed up on my my pattern, but if you can only put 2 here, that's okay. 2 sections. And then go back in if you need to highlight a little bit. And then we're going to reinforce all of this with cinnamon sticks. So you got to do the top and the bottom also. Then outline. And when you do that reinforcement color, don't do it real heavy. This is just to deepen it, especially kind of in the corners, you'll see. I'll show you. So when you get up here, you just want that cinnamon color to be a little softer, even though I know it doesn't look very soft on camera. You just want to reinforce that a little bit. Oh, I think that's better. Then get it right up on top of that line. Okay. And then flip it. I'm going to let that dry for a second and then do the top and the bottom. Okay, so when you're done with that, go ahead and get out a little bit of your Tuscan red. And a liner. And we're just going to add some of this cross hatching in there. And it's really, really light. So when you do your cross hatching, I'm just going to start from
going downstairs.
Okay.
Oops, that one got way too wide. Water. But you're gonna do your cross hatching just at this angle like this. And then come up this way. You just don't want this heavy at all, okay? So right now, I know it looks like it's kind of sitting on top of it, and that's okay, because we're gonna go back over it a little bit when it dries. Okay, so then I don't think I put this in there, but we're gonna go back over this a little bit, let it give it a minute to dry. And very, very lightly with the cinnamon. Just go back over at the top. And just the side a little bit, and see, it's just gonna set those back. Okay. It's really wet. I know you see a glare. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry. We're gonna go ahead and put in the gingerbread pieces up here. Now you can trace them in. They're gonna be really pretty basic. So you don't have to trace, you can just paint them in. It's up to you. They're gonna be honey brown. So like up here at the top, you can just kind of put in a little bit of a tree shape or use a pencil. But just like that. Get a tree in there. And then the other one, there's another tree, and then I just did, it looks like there's a cookie kind of sticking inside. So it's just a half circle. The cookie is sticking inside the frosting. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to do that. I don't know why I didn't make this part of the prep. It's okay. So it's going to be just like that. It can be just like it is on the pattern, or it can be whatever you want. And save some room on there because you're going to have some little dip dots too. You know what I think the problem is with the coloring is that I have it on a pink background, pink matte. I'm going to change that. Find my paper towel. I think that's a little bit better. It looks kind of gray. Okay. My little gingerbreads look different because I'm painting it on, like I said, on a canvas. And it does need to have a couple of good coats so it doesn't show that little canvas pattern. Okay. Everybody doing all right? When your cookies, your little gingerbread cookies are dry, we're going to dry brush a little bit of warm white in there again, just like we did on the wrapper. So it's going to be a pretty small dry brush. And if you don't have a dry brush that small, you can use just a liner brush and you can kind of just, don't get it wet, or not a liner, I meant like a round, like a 1 or a 2. And if you don't get it wet, you can kind of just brush in the center, just some highlight color of the warm white. That's pretty stark. I didn't mean to go that bright, but you'll see it. So if you just go just in the center a little bit with a round, just like that. Okay. And then you're going to use your cinnamon stick. And you're just going to float the sides and the bottom of each cookie. So you're going to need probably like a quarter flat or angle. So just go in and just do all the bottoms. And the sides. So on the Christmas tree, I just went, I'll kind of show you on each little section. You don't have to go underneath that. It's just getting a little crazy with that much. You're not going to even tell. And then you're gonna go just around each cookie. Okay. Also, we need to float on the cake a little bit. Now, I know this is really a small area, but you just want to add a little bit of cinnamon to do a separation from the frosting and the cake. And if you have to bring it up a little more, that's okay. You can just go right over that white, that warm white frosting. But you do want to separate the cake from the frosting. I mean, you can hardly even tell. Then you can just decorate these cookies with your liner. So I'm going to kind of show you what I did here. So on the Christmas trees, I lined in with Tuscan, just added some little strokes of the Tuscan red. And then some of the cookies were the green tea, the little squiggly lines, and then the warm white. I think it was warm white. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, snow white. And then we added some dip dots. But right now, start with your trees. And then however many cookies you put on, just squiggle on either the white or the green tea color. Okay, so I'm gonna just show you real quick. On the tree, just a little bit of the Tuscan red. And then you're gonna go back and highlight it. Oh, I'm sorry, it was a cinnamon drop, not Tuscan red. I guess it doesn't really matter. Cinnamon drop's a little brighter. And you're just going to add a little highlight in each stroke that you put in. Okay. There's a little stroke at the bottom too of the tree. So like on this little, oops, here on my brush. On this little cookie, that'll be enough. Just a little line, just like this. Okay. And if you do the green little squiggly lines, or frosting lines, I should say, on your cookie, go back over a little bit with the Snow White to make them stand out more. Okay. And that's the green tea. Yeah, the green tea color. So, well, I don't know what to do with my green tea. Oh, it's okay, I'll just use this one. It doesn't really matter what color frosting you use, but I did use the green tea. So you're just gonna squiggle. And a little color there too. It's a little, you can't see it. So once all your little frostings are in and highlighted, then you can go back. Now, I think we should wait to do the dip dots last, obviously, because there's a lot of them on here. And then we can just go back and do them all at one time. Now, there is a trim on the cupcake with Hauser Dark. Oh, I'm sorry, it's on the wrapper. So the wrapper is trimmed in Hauser Dark. I did it kind of it's a thicker line. We're gonna shade on the frosting around the tree and on the dip dots, but we're gonna wait because I want to do it when we do the sprinkles, the dip dot sprinkles. So we're just gonna go ahead and add this band of the green. And this is a good time too. If there's anything about your frosting or your cookies you don't like, you can fix them real quick. I'm not really fond of this one here. It's a little, didn't get cleaned up. You can kind of sharpen your corners if you want. Okay. However you want to do it, you can just fix your little trees, because I know if you decided to do them, just freehand them, you can go back and reshape them a little bit. Mine looks a little funky. That's all right. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a minute to get your top one all cleaned up how you like it. In fact, on mine, it's actually on the background color I messed up. The next colors you're going to get out are Snow White and your Holly Green and your Hauser Dark. We're going to work on this cupcake here, the middle one. I love that Holly Green. It's such a pretty color. But we're going to first dry brush the wrapper, just like we did on the top one, with Snow White. So you need a little bit bigger of a brush, I would think. And with Snow White, I can get the white out of my bottle. Okay. So with the Snow White, you want to make sure you dry brush the shape of the cupcake, right? So you're going to start in the center. You're going to go length, or I'm sorry, horizontal. And it's kind of at a curve, because if you look at this cupcake here, it is at a curve. See how these sides are coming in a little bit, make it look a little more like the ribbon's tightening it, okay? You can go pretty heavy too on this. I had to go extra heavy so you guys could see it. All right. So you get that dry brushed in there. And your floats are going to be with Holly. And then again, you're going to reinforce it with Hauser Dark. So let me get out my Holly Green, which I think this is it, but it's going to do the job. Like I said, we're cleaning out my stuff, and I got everything is everywhere, but my daughter's a very good organizer, so she's getting me in shape. So we're going to take some Holly Green. Now this is you have quite a bit of, you're going to have a lot of float, so you don't want them big. You want to get out like a quarter angle. And you're going to do just like we did before on the top one, but you just have a lot more to do. Start this way. So that's pretty wide. So I'm definitely gonna push this one back. This can be a slow process on this part because this cupcake really pops out with that green and you really want it to look just like this shape. Just take one section at a time. Make sure you really blend your paint because it's easy on these little ones, I think, to make it look too harsh, like kind of like I did there. Especially if you're going to add, if you're going to deepen that float. So you really want it to flow nice. You got to make sure you have enough water. And I think pound or mopping them out is the way to go. So here you go again with this one. Okay. So we've done 1, 2, 3, 4 floats this way. We're going to do 5. I'm going to flip it now just so I can see what it's going to look like. So I did 5 on that side. And I'm going to flip it and go across from the other direction. So this one, though, I'm going to have to go around his foot. So you just get right next to the foot and you put in your first float. And then your second one. Need to really deepen that one. A little too late. Okay. So I think what we should do, we still have, there's one line in here that we didn't do, and I'm going to make it go towards the left how we did when we first did these, the first set rather.
Six.
Wow. I'm going to let mine dry and then I'm going to add some white back in there. some Snow White, then that will really separate them better. Because you can easily lose them like I did. Okay, so I start right over here. I'm going to turn my piece upside down again. And I'm going to do this section over here. I don't want to start here with this white because I'm going to be all over on top of myself. So I'm just going to go right in here. It's almost like when you do it the first time, it's almost like a guide just so you know where your lines are. Especially because I feel this one's a little small. So I just want to get my white in there. And these just take a little bit of patience. Mine looks really rough, I know. And I think it's a combination of doing it on the canvas, which it looks good to me, but I think with the glare from the light with the wet paint. So I'm going to show you on here what we've done. So we did the holly green this way, here, 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 and right here, okay, right to the middle. Then we flipped it and we floated here, 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 this line, and that's it. So it was 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay. Then we're going to float. I went back in just so I could see where my white's going to be, but we're going to go ahead and float across the top and the bottom with the holly. So when you do the top, try to keep your little points. They don't have to be exact because you're going to line it with a red anyway, but you just want to make sure you hit every one. Okay. I'm wondering if that's too much light. I think that's better. Not as shiny on you guys. Go across the top. And then across the bottom. Okay. Then when you're done, you're going to go back and you're going to do it again with Hauser Dark. It's not going to be as wide of a float. It's going to be really soft. Hauser Dark. Oh, there's someone in the waiting room. Darn it. There she is. Sorry, Cheryl. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. We're just working on the second, but once you're ready, I can kind of give you some instruction to get you caught up a little bit. But we're just working on the center
Oh.
cupcake right now.
I probably will just watch and
Okay.
then get the
Oh yeah, we're recorded.
video. Yeah, so
Okay, good. Very good. All right, so now we're gonna go. And reinforce lightly with the Hauser Dark. So what happens when you do the second float, the shade, it really makes your cupcake liner look, you know how they're all kind of crinkled when you put them in the, or they're supposed to be when you put them in your little tins or when you take them out. So you're just gonna go back over each one. And I always think it's a good opportunity for a cleanup too. So when you do your second float, it does help. It helps clean up any crooked edges or some little mistakes. Okay, so this one here was that center that was kind of an odd man out. So I did put a little float of the green in there, of the Hauser Dark. And I'll just do the other side with the Snow White. It's not going to be, it's kind of like the odd one out. There's just, okay. So then I'm going to turn it upside down. Go around the shoe again. Okay. Down this side. I can't believe we're painting Christmas already. I guess we should be painting Christmas all year. Anyways, you're gonna do this one right here and this one here. Okay. And this last one. Okay. And then go back across the top and the bottom with the Hauser dark. Okay, so there's across the top. Now across the bottom. Now on the bottom, I'm not going to go straight all the way across each. I'm kind of floating each individual section. It's just a quick, just adds a little more depth to it. So I'm gonna show you this one again. That's what it should be. Mine's a little rough looking. I'll leave that up there for a minute for you guys, and then make sure you go back and you want to add a little more white if you lost it. Okay. After that Hauser dark. So then in this one right here in that center, that was the oddball, I'm just going to put a little white float just so it kind of blends in a little better. I mean, not like that, a little too much. But that's where the ribbon's going to go, the bow. Okay. I know you guys are still working on those, so I'll let you just continue on for a couple more minutes. I don't think anybody else is in there. Okay. For those that are ready, we're just gonna float the cake part of this cupcake. And we're gonna take honey brown and we're gonna go underneath the frosting. Honey. Just gonna do a little light float underneath this chocolate ganache or frosting. Okay. So we just want to get that in there like that. Let's see. I did something. I have to take that. I think it's on my computer. Oh, well, that's better. Okay. So we did the float right here. Okay, then the next section, or I'm sorry, the next step on this frosting here, it's gonna be dry brushed with warm white, but it has to be very, very light. Let me show you. Decent. Because it's such a dark color. In contrast to that, I have a feeling it's going to show up really bright on screen. But you're just going to dry brush each little section here. Okay, you just don't want it super bright. just like that. Okay. Don't go all the way to the edge. Try to stay within the shape of the frosting, but just in the middle. You don't want to go to the edge either at the top or the bottom of it. Okay, don't go this way. Just go up and down this way. And if you're gonna add, if you want it a little bit brighter, just do it in the middle. Don't do it the whole thing. Just push down right in the center of that highlight. Okay. Then then you want to put your holly leaves in. Okay, so you can trace those on, you can draw them in like before, whatever you want to do. And then you're going to paint them Hauser medium. Okay. Now, these I'm going to draw mine in, and I can kind of tell that they're up onto the other cupcake a little bit. And then it's kind of off. The edge. Be a little bigger than way bigger than I thought. Don't want it that big. My chalk pencil's gray, not white. Anyways, just put in your 2 holly leaves, paint them Hauser medium. You should probably do, a couple good coats on those. Okay. There's one.
What color is the holly leaf?
Hauser medium green.
Thank you.
Mhm. Mine got a little fat. I wanted them to be a little bit pointy. So. You can fix them with a liner, you can fix them with your flat, just, you know, kind of fix the background, but I don't want to make these too much bigger either. Okay, so you're gonna get those in and let them dry. And then we're gonna highlight and shade with Hauser Dark and then get out some Irish Moss. I'm gonna give you a minute to get those in. I'll do it right this second. Okay, let's see. Okay, so with Hauser Dark, we're just gonna float, shade and highlight these the holly leaves. So go ahead and with your Hauser Dark in a flat. Okay, so the one that's up next to the cupcake, the top cupcake, we're gonna float on the left side with the Hauser Dark. And it's gonna go over that second leaf. Hmm. If you need to do a second coat with the float, that's fine. And then for the one that's sticking out towards the left, the second leaf, I said left in the instructions, but that's left if you turn your surface this way. But it's really the bottom. If you're looking straight on. and go right up underneath. I'm going to show you this one. It's easier. Well, not easier on that one because it's got stuff on it, but just go make sure you float right up against that first piece. Okay. When you put the highlight on, it's all going to show up. So now I can tell because my Hauser dark just faded into the leaf. So you're just going to put it in this one. Okay, so just like that. And then this one. I don't know about you guys, but I always go back and I have to clean up my leaves. So let's get some highlights on there. So that's going to be Irish moss. And we'll start with that first one. So we're going to go right up next to the cupcake wrapper, right? Right there, and then up this way. Okay. A little bit down here. So then you can tell. You can tell this too, where I'm going to have to clean up a little bit on that edge. But that really separates them. So go ahead and do the second cup or the second leaf. Do the same thing. Okay. So you're going to highlight both leaves. Okay. And then the vein lines, when you get there, those are just Hauser dark, thinned out with a liner. I think we're going to be painting a lot of holly leaves. Everybody is because of the holidays. I mean, I like the look of them, but not everybody wants to paint them, I guess. But go ahead and just add your lines. Make sure they don't go up to the top. And then just okay, just like that. Okay. Now, what I do to clean it up, I would take my background color and I like to take my angle brush. So like right here where I went way over. I just it's not a float. I put a lot of paint on here and I just kind of put the color down like I would a float, but then you get that curve and it's flat. And I do the same thing on this side. This really helps because I always make them too big. like, or my leaves get a little more, you know, bigger than what I wanted. But see how you get that nice point? You may have to do it a couple times. You can wait till the end, it doesn't matter. But that's what I like to do. Now we are going to be floating on the background a little bit too. And so that's going to cover up some of your hiccups. But I don't want to look at that the whole time I'm painting. I want it to look right, you know, as I'm going along. But you can do this with anything, not just your holly leaves, whatever you're painting. So I just go back over them like that and just, it brings out the points back in how they were supposed to be. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to finish these up. Okay. And if you hear a little mouse in the background, my daughter's here helping me clean up again. But she knows she has to be quiet. Anyway. So go ahead and do your leaves. You're getting pretty far. We'll do the holly leaves when we do the dip dots at the end. Okay, so yeah, we'll do the shading on the frosting just like the top one. We're going to wait to float the frosting when we do the dip dots. Okay. So for now, both of the first top and middle cupcakes are done. Oh, actually, wait a minute. We do need to put on our ribbon. So when you're done with your leaves, take a minute and put on your red ribbon, however you want to do it. You can wrap it, or I'm sorry, wrap it. You can trace it on, draw it on, or wing it. I think I'm going to show you this. I think I would go ahead and trace it. And you know why? Because it's pretty specific how it's thick to thin. So it looks like the cupcake's being squeezed together. And then these loops, you don't have to go crazy like I did, but each loop is crossed, or one loop crosses the other. And then there's a curlicue within each loop. So however you guys want to do it, but I think a suggestion would be, unless you want to draw them in like this, but this has to be a little wider at the edge. Okay. Let me see if I have a white pencil and I can show you. I'm going to step away for a second and use the restroom. If any of you guys, do you need a break? Real quick, you want to take 10 minutes, 5 minutes? Okay. I can see Kim shaking her head. Yeah. So let's take our break. I'm going to set you on mute. Okay, I'm back. I think we're still waiting on a couple people. Let's give it another minute because I don't have too many cameras up. I can only see names, so that's fine. Give it another couple minutes. Oh, there's Kim. Okay. One more minute. We're going to do a raffle real quick. And I'm going to write down everybody's name. I think there are 8 of you. And I'll just have my daughter draw the names. 2 names. While you guys are still finishing up on your stuff. Let's see here. Now we have Kim, Diana, Darlene, Sandy, Joanne, Cheryl, see, I don't know who Chromebook is. I don't know if they can take it off mute for a second. Okay. Huh? I am. Seven, and there's one more. I gotta look for the names. Let's see. Gallery view. Tammy. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna draw the names real quick. Leah's gonna draw them for me. Here, pick a name, Leah. This one. Okay, Diana. Diana Ray, she won. I think you won last time. Very good. Now you're
Couple
unmuted.
classes ago, I won. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So go to the website and pick out a pattern. Okay.
Okay,
And then email me and let me know.
will do. Thank you.
No problem here. We got one more. Chromebook. I don't know who that is. Chromebook 82. I don't know. I don't even know if they can hear me.
I
Oh,
can
there-
hear you. Can
Hi,
you hear
who-
me?
Yes, who is this?
Arlene Menzigian.
Arlene?
Yes.
Okay, so Arlene, if you would go to my website, lizvigliato.com, you can pick out a pattern and email me your choice, and then I'll email you the pattern packet.
Great. Thank you very much. I have
You're
a question
welcome.
for you, Liz.
Sure.
The winter tags that you were going to sell at the last sale,
Uh-huh.
when are
Yeah,
you going to do that?
at the next sale, but you can
Oh,
get them
okay.
now. I have them on my website.
You do? Oh, I've been checking and I hadn't not seen them.
I think they're there now. I'm almost sure, but when you send me the email of the one you want for free, just mention that and then I'll remember to check.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
Yeah, it's great.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now let's get back does everybody have their ribbons on, the bow, the ribbon and the bow? Okay. Let's see. I gotta get back to where I was. Oh, wait. Okay, so go ahead, you have the ribbon on, and go ahead and put on this top trim. Do that too with Tuscan red. Okay, so this ribbon and this little trim is Tuscan. Okay. So when you do this trim at the top, this is when you can straighten out these edges too. This just kind of puts the finishing touch on the top. Okay, so okay, so now, once you get your ribbon on, I just kind of threw mine on there. It doesn't look exactly the way I would do it, but you're gonna get where I shaded and highlighted at least. Okay, so so with white and a liner, Snow White in your liner, add little streaks, little highlights across the trim at the top of the cupcake, okay? So that would be just like this. And then same thing on the ribbon. They're not heavy, they're not big. So you would do the center of either side of the tie part of the ribbon part. And then on the bow, you just want to go around. And I try to keep it to where it curves and then make your highlight curve. And then your little center. And then down on the tails. Okay, we're gonna let you guys do that. See, for this cupcake obviously is at an awkward, it's not even. It's supposed, that's what it's supposed to look like. It's not even all the way across. So the ribbon kind of ties it all in. I didn't finish my red, which is fine. Then you're going to take out the Hauser dark again. Your Hauser dark green, and we're going to just add a float under the, well, for sure, under the ribbon, right? Yeah, that's the only spot. Okay, so it's under the ribbon and under the bow. So we're going to do a small float. It's not big. It's going to be with Hauser dark. And you're just going to go right underneath it, right up on top of, up next to the bow. And then make sure you go underneath the tail part and whatever loops you have in there. Okay, so what you're doing is you're setting everything in. So you're gonna go right up here next to the bow and here underneath the tail part. Okay. Did you guys get your, or do you have a stencil for the peppermint candies to use? Okay. If not, you can do them by hand, I mean, or you could just do them a solid color. It's up to you. All right, so on the third cupcake, you're going to get out some Snow White and you're going to do a big dry brush again on the frosting. I'm sorry, on the wrapper. And just kind of work out towards the edge. Got a little bright, but that's all right. Okay. So you're going to dry brush that wrapper. And then you're going to get out Tuscan Red. I'm sure you probably already have it out because you just used it, so, and a flat. Second, huh? Okay, so with Tuscan red, you're gonna float this side of the wrapper. And this side, the second one, okay? And then this middle one, I just went straight down. And then flipped it upside down. And just the edge here, just this far. I know this one's got skipped over, but that's fine right now. Okay, so you're gonna do those. And then we're going to go ahead and add some of the detail lines. And this is just a thin, strokes, just kind of, when I say thin, they're thin. Okay, you can hardly see them, I think, up on the screen. Make sure they get a little bit smaller as they go down. Just like that, okay? Then you're gonna take your Snow White and a flat. Don't make this real heavy. This is just a light float. And you're just gonna, it's almost like you're just, oops, I say not heavy, and look what I did. So you're gonna just kind of go. Cut it out a little bit. Add another little highlight here. And right here where there wasn't anything. Okay. And then you're going to flip them. And then you only have this one on the edge right there. You're just gonna add another highlight. We're also gonna go across the top. Okay. Then you're gonna go back with your Tuscan, and you're just gonna do a float across the bottom. Okay. So we floated with Tuscan on each section, and we flipped it, and we did it again. Then we added the highlights with the white, Snow White on each section. Then the little scallop lines, and then we highlighted the tops. And then the last float was the bottom with the Tuscan red. This float on this cake, it's with dark chocolate, and it's next to the wrapper. And it's really not a lot. You don't have to come all the way across. We're going to put in a white line. We just need some of that dark chocolate color. Just to show that it is cake. So I think I got a little, when I designed this, so it's red in these sections, it's red, 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 and then nothing on this last one. Then I flipped it. I should have had 5 sections, and I only have 4. So then I flipped it, and it's red here, and then it's white, white, and white. So this third section here, this line is white on both sides. So it'd be, here's white, and here's the white. I'm just going to make mine super strong so you can see it. And then it's white here, and it's white here. Okay. I think that shows up much better for you. and then across the top too. Okay, that you can see. My stencil. Okay. Trust me, I'm prepared. I just couldn't find my stencil. I knew the vicinity of where it was at. Okay. So now on to the green frosting. Oh, well, let's not do anything else on this wrapper quite yet. So on the green frosting, whatever stencils you have, I used a couple different ones. So I used the pinwheel and I used the one with just the little, I guess, check boxes. Whatever look you want to do. And I did them. Let's see, the first part of the stencil is all done in white. And then cinnamon drop and Hauser dark. Okay. So I'll demo both kinds, both types. And they're not difficult. You guys have probably used these before. And I just use the small. So for instance, this one up here can come off the page. You don't have to keep them on all the way. So I'm just going to do one right here You're just gonna dry brush it with some Snow White. Because you don't want it real heavy. You don't want a heavy pounce. You just want to dry brush the color in. I'm gonna go there. So there's one. Oops, there it is. And I'm actually gonna do one, but only half of it. So you only just because you can have that frosting, you know, it's deep in the frosting, so only part of it's going to show through. So I'm just going to dry brush part of it, part of that circle. Okay, so it's just like that. So this part down here is going to be the area that's actually sunk into the frosting. Okay, and then the next brush, you're going to need another stencil, but it should be smaller. I don't like these little big stencils, but slim pickings. I need to order some more. So with the candy, the pinwheel, so you guys can see it. So with the pinwheel candy, or design, I just put it right on top and then really light with the Tuscan. Okay. Wipe off some of that paint. And I just dry brushed it on there. Just like that. Okay. And then same thing with the green, whatever you want to do. Just a little bit of paint. You don't need a whole lot. And then on this one, since it's just only part of the candy is showing, I'm just going to put these little squares, line them up at the top, and then just stencil the top three, let's say. Just like that. Yeah, because these were put on pretty light. We're going to shade with the same color. So you would just get out your little, like a 1/4 inch flat. And you can use a little bit bigger. And so with the Hauser dark, why am I off the camera? Okay. With the Hauser dark, I'm just going to float all the way across the top. Just like that. And you can mop it out a little bit. I'm going to come down a little bit further. You should come down past where the stencil stopped, where the green checks stopped. Okay. So there's that one. And then same thing with the red. You're just going to go with your Tuscan and do a little float all the way around. I mean, I guess you can just float the whites if you'd like, if that's easier. And you just walk it down a little bit. I guess that would be easier than floating the circle. Anyway, you're gonna get them both, or both candies floated, just like that. Okay. Let those dry for a second, then you're just gonna add some white highlights. And we're gonna float, so don't worry too much about if your edges get messed up, because we're gonna float on the frosting. We're gonna highlight and float, but I wanted to get the candies on where you want, and then we just highlight next to them. So I'll let you finish getting your candies on. While you're there, I'll show you where I highlighted, and it's with the liner and Snow White, but they're not connected lines. Okay, so I kind of went more towards the edge. And you can come in a little bit with another highlight, kind of just like that. And then on the other candy, I went right across the squares. Okay, just like that. And then you can add little circle or dip dots or whatnot after. Everybody doing okay? You know, it's usually about this time, my husband will come in with a cup of coffee. And I'm still waiting. When you get your candies in, I'm not rushing you. I'm just kind of moving ahead. And then you guys can get caught up. But we need to dry brush some highlights on this frosting. I think I ran out of a smaller brush. So So I'm really excited. Next weekend, I get to drive to Redlands because I just joined the Gypsy Tollers chapter. And I'm going to do their, I forget what they called it. It's the luncheon and take some classes. I haven't done that in forever. So I'm totally excited. I didn't want to Zoom it. I wanted to go in person and see everyone. Okay, so now with some Snow White. Where you, what I did was I did this in between the candies. So you just take a dry brush and you dry brush. I'm gonna do mine kind of heavy so you can see where I'm at. So you just dry brush in that negative space. So I only have 2 candies up here, so I got a lot of negative space, but that's okay. You guys aren't going to. But wherever your negative space is, add a highlight. Just dry brush some Snow White in there. Okay. Mine's gonna look a little funny because I only have 2 candies. I'm just gonna let you guys keep working until we get to the floating on this frosting. Could be another minute. You are going to use Hauser Dark when you float on this frosting, but it has to be really well blended because it's such a contrast. The same thing with his jacket when we get to that point. So once you have your Snow White dry brushed in your negative space, take a flat and some Hauser Dark. And we're going to float underneath each candy, peppermint. Okay, just like this. You can go about halfway up. You don't want to do the tops, okay? So you're just going to do the bottom with Hauser Dark for each candy. And then I did mop it up a little bit. Okay. Now for the candies that you did, that's only partially in there. So just do the same thing, but you're just going to go right at the bottom. So it's going to look like your candy is sitting in the frosting. Okay. So once you get all the bottoms of all your candies, then you can go back and float your edges. You got to make sure everything's dry, but then you can go back and you can just lightly float around each, I don't know, each puff, each frosting puff, it looks like, I guess. Kind of like that. These are really light. We're just almost like it's just a shadow of on the frosting. So you go underneath and then all around. And then also, as you're going around all your curves, all your edges, make sure you go underneath the cupcake that is sitting on top of this frosting. Okay, so that's sitting just like that. And then wipe it out a little bit. You want to soften it. Now you might lose some of those highlights. You could go in with a smaller dry brush and really rub that in the center so those look, so in between the candies it really pops out. Because we're going to go in when we do the other dip dots and the other sprinkles, we're going to do these too. So it'll be good to have a nice bright place to lay them into. And don't forget about where this frosting is in between the rungs of this ladder. Just want to make sure you get the little edges. Now, until we get our little candies in, I'm not going to do any more shading around these candies, only on the bottom. Can you guys hear my son? Do you hear background noise in over here? You just give me a thumbs up if you hear it. No? Okay, good. Because somebody's being very loud. But I don't have that great of a computer, so that's all right. I'll let you guys get your floats in for your frosting. And then we're going to move on to the ladder. So when we do the ladder, it's floating of cinnamon drop. We're not going to paint these cupcake stripes on there. We just float them on and then float them on with the cinnamon drop and then clean them up with the Snow White. I think it's easier. I don't want to have to paint a bunch of red stripes like that, you know, base coat. It's too hard. So with cinnamon drop, and I would suggest an angled brush to do these floats on the ladder. And you don't have to put in the pattern. If you just make sure, you also, as I demo down one of the sides, just make sure you have enough room, enough white, you know, you need enough space between each red float. So go ahead and get some cinnamon drop out. Now, you don't want this real runny. You want to be able to have some control over the float. And just know that it's not going to be a sharp, clean line because it's a float, but we're going to go back up after with the white. But I'm going to show you down one side. So we're going to go, you know what I'm going to do first though? Because it's not straight across, right? I'm going to go bigger on this side here and just kind of show you the shape. So you're going to start up at the top. It's kind of like you're going to do a little curve and then come down. So each float, now you can come down a little bit more and go back and just fill it in so they're thicker because they're not, it's like base coating them, but not base coating them. And it's not really a float. It doesn't have to look like a total float, like a real, you know, dark to light or light to dark. But you do definitely want this shape. It's like an S stroke. Okay. You don't want them really thin. You do want them kind of wide. All right. So just like that is how they should go on. So if you start up here in the corner of this top, and then just kind of come down a little bit on the opposite side, and there's your first one. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay. And then you're gonna leave a good amount of space because you're gonna go in there and paint another line. And it's easier if you have your surface turned sideways. So you're not painting up and down. I prefer it this way. You can obviously do whatever makes you comfortable, but I found this a lot easier to get my spacing better. You just walk it down a little bit. So you're just going to do this all the way down, both sides. I think this is what takes the longest, is to do this ladder. And if you need them to be darker, heavier, just let them dry for a second and just go back over them. Just make sure you walk them down a bit. And as you get down towards the bottom, they are going to be a little bigger. Okay. And then you just do the other side. Okay, so your first set on each side is going to look just like that. Is everybody doing okay, or am I going too fast? I'll let you get those on. Well, and then we also have these, you know, on these center, on the, I get rungs, I guess is what they're called, right? I just did one in the center. But you got to make sure your other ones are dry. Now we're going to let those dry really good, and you'll see the difference once you go in and put your float a snow white to clean it all up. Then it will look more like a candy cane instead of like mine that's just like a ladder with dripping wet red paint on it. I'm gonna demo the white on this part that I did before. Because it's already, you know, the background color is already white. So all we're gonna do, well, first I gotta get out some white paint. And well, I'm gonna do it here on the, it's gonna be on the brown, but that's okay. So just on the bottom to clean up your white or clean up your red, you're just gonna kind of, it's gonna look better when I do it on the candy cane itself. But that cleans up all this on the bottom. So if you started, okay, so right here, and then just go down next to each one and go back over it with the white. You don't have to do everyone. If some of them look okay, then that's fine. That's why I said to go ahead and you can make them kind of wide. Because
Very
you
clever,
want-
Liz.
Oh,
You
thanks.
taught me something. Very clever.
Oh, that makes me happy. You know,
Very clever. I would have never thought to do it that way.
I am never gonna base coat another candy cane.
I was going to say base coating a candy cane is a pain in the ass. Very
Yes, it
clever.
is. Thank you.
I'm not doing that part, but very, very clever.
Thank you. So now you're just gonna go down all of them. Clean up where you can. Okay. You have to go back because it's white going over red, but it shouldn't be that bad because that's the lighter part of the red. Okay. Then all you have to do is with your liner. I'm not rushing you, you guys. You can take your time. I'm just showing you. Take your liner and your cinnamon drop. And you're not going to go right up next to this, and you're not going to go in the middle. You're going to just come down just a tad and do a little S stroke line. That's that second line on the candy cane. It's a little curve. Okay. Now, when you do these, try to stay up on your corners and then make them flat, come down flat in the centers, okay? You're gonna come up, down, and up again. So they're just little S strokes with your liner brush. It's a good way to get some stroke work practice in, I think. So then you're going to go around after all your white is in and just put in your little lines, your little S strokes. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys all get caught up with that. It will take a minute. But not as long as it would have been if you had to base coat every red part in. So for the shading on these, I used Payne's Gray, but I did not float on the white, only on the red. So it, for me, you guys, if you want to float all the way down the sides, you can. I don't do that only because I make mine, it just ends up being a mess. So I just use the Payne's Gray on the red. Of course, I can't find my Payne's Gray. I brought everything back in here. So with your Payne's Gray and a small, your small flat, or your small angle rather, I think it's easier. What do I do with my brush? I'm losing my mind. Okay. well. Oh, here it is, underneath everything. Okay. So now with Payne's Gray, I'm just going to float on the red, just a little bit of that's a little dark. You want to go pretty light. I'll show you another one. Yeah, you really want to water this down. It's almost just like it's just you're adding color. It's not even like you're doing a true float. You're just adding a little wash of that Payne's Gray. Okay, just like that. And then your final highlight is on the right side you know, and it's just a broken highlight of Snow White. Okay. So just like that. Now, sometimes I find that even with white, you know, it's just not bright enough. So I need to do a second highlight right over it. Just to make it show up. Okay. Then, like before, if you want, go back and clean up on your background. I always have to. Even though we're gonna float color, I just want it looking finished. And that's how your candy cane ladder is gonna look. You know, I'm looking at my finished piece and I have a feeling that white highlight, I don't think I lined it. I think I floated it with a really, like I really loaded my brush because to me it looked awfully bright. But you can float it too. And I think that's even a better idea is you just, not even a float, you're just using your liner brush. I mean, your small angle and kind of just going on top of it and streaking in some of those lines. I think it shows up much better. And one thing too, I think I forgot to tell you is on the red cupcake, I mean, the red wrapper, we need to add the thick band right here. The finishing. Everything has to have a finish on it, a finished edge. Okay. All right. Do you guys need another break? Are you good? Do you want to take 5? Or I can just go to the restroom and you guys can finish doing what you're doing. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, so now, let's see. Now we're gonna just float some color on the snowman. And on his hat, his hands, his face. Okay, so that's gonna be with gray sky. And a flat, or yeah, a flat, whatever you want to float with. So we're going to start, we're just going to go from the top to the bottom. So we're going to start with his hat. And you're just going to float around the edge here. The top, where all those little poofies are. Okay. Now this one, actually, there's a second one, so you can actually see the round in it. And then this one came out a little bit more. Okay. So I did those, and then I'm just gonna mop them back a little bit to soften them. Okay, so just like that. And then you're gonna go across the top of the band on the white, just like that. And then on his face under the band. And come down a little bit right here, okay? And then when you just want to add a little color on the bottom. So we did the hat at the top, the poof area. We put a little couple extra, there you go, you can see it better. Some extra floats in there to make it look puffier. We went across the top. We went across the top of his face and kind of on the side. And then we're gonna go at his wrist, on his wrist, on it, like that. And then okay, so on his, this is actually his body. So right here next to the candy cane ladder, we're gonna do a float. Just walk it out a little bit, okay? So it's gonna be right here. And then I'm gonna flip it over and I'm gonna do the other side. And I'm gonna walk it out just a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna set this down so you guys can all see it and I'll go back over them. Then I went underneath his leg because his leg is kind of, you know, obviously connected to the rest of his body. So I went just straight across the top like that. And then on each, then on the left side of each leg. So that's like the front. All right. So for the snowman, we did the hat, the top, the poofs. We went across the top of the hat band. We did his face across his forehead and kind of came down on the side. We did his wrist. And then on his body, we did each left and right side. And then on his legs, we came underneath or at the top, and then on each left side of the leg. Okay. And a little bit at the bottom. You just don't want him to look like he has a gray head. So just put a little bit of right here. So I'm just gonna leave it like that. Okay. So then after we're done with the gray sky and the body, you're going to get your little, well, actually, yeah, we're going to do little tiny floats for the scallop scarf or collar right here. This is just going to be little floats just to line it in. And it's just if you it's little C strokes really, and it's just 1, 2. If you rather use a liner brush, you can. I just put in just some little, just to give it the look of a collar. Okay, so then just like that. And then after that, you're going to dry brush his jacket with Snow White. And that's just like we did with everything else. And that's just going to be the center. Mine's a little brighter. Look at the camera. Okay. Then you're gonna get out your Hauser Dark. And we're just gonna add some floating on his jacket just to distinguish and separate the areas. So. Now, my Hauser got kind of messed up. Let's see here. So the first float of the Hauser Dark is going to be right under that scallop you just did. This is going to make this pop right out. Okay. To make it actually look more like a collar. So it's going to be right there. And it's also going to be around his arm. So his arm, this is the cuff. So we're just going to do a float, kind of a little bit of a curve, just like that. Okay. And then we're going to kind of do it again. It's like a little, we're making a little V right in here. Okay. So that's the top of his arm. And then you're going to do the bottom. Okay. You can go a little wider. Mine is a little too thin. You just kind of round it out. So it's a little V up here, like the little bird, and then underneath. Okay. And we're also going to float a little bit right here on the very front of his jacket. Okay. Then when this arm is dry, go ahead and just float the bottom of his jacket all the way across. So there's not that much on his jacket to float. It's underneath the collar, the top of the arm, the bottom of the arm, and across the bottom. I'll let you get caught up with that, and then we're just going to add a couple more things. And then we can go back and put the details on the cupcake. Oh, you know what? We have to do that. His hat. He has a couple holly leaves on his hat, which are done the same exact way as the other ones. So you just need to add some Hauser dark, I'm sorry, Hauser medium. Base in a little bit. So you can put these in. Because these can dry while you're doing your other stuff. Okay. You get your little holly leaves in there. You know, what we do have to do is with a either a round or a flat, it's very small. We just need to dry brush some little checks in for his little hat band up here. And they're not totally based in, they're just set in. And then just on his cuff, which huh? Okay. So after the highlight or after all this shading, we put in the holly leaves and we added these little white checks. On the black of his hat band and his cuff. On his boots, with just a tad of Snow White, just do a really light highlight across the top and on his toe. And then we're going to go over that with just a little bit of line work. Oops. And that's going to be with white, and you're just gonna add just a couple little some decorative on his boots. And do a little line right there. And then on the jacket, there was also on the cuff, there was red. I so did not make my arm wide enough. And then there's red right here at the trim on the bottom of his jacket. And on the bottom of his hat band. Okay, just like that. His little buttons are lamp black. And I didn't use a stylus. I just laid them in there with my liner. They're like little square buttons. I just added a little white highlight after. I think you all know this by now. Every time you do whatever, no matter what you're putting down, you gotta highlight it somewhere. So. I'm not gonna do this leaf up here because we already did these. Because I want to make sure we get his face in and the dip dots. I want to show you these for the cupcakes. So there's one cheek showing on his face. Now, if you guys want, you can put the pattern on. And if we do this step by step, you really don't have to. Because it all starts if you just, the placement is really pretty simple. So I gotta find a dry brush. So all I did for the cheek was mix a tad. I mean, like it's all white except for the red. It was just a little tiny tad of Tuscan And I added just a teeny amount of scarlet because I like the little orangey in the cheek with some white. So it's whatever you want to do, whatever color cheeks you want him to have. But what I did was I just put the cheek right here on the right side of his face. So if you're having him look at you, pounce in your cheek right here. And then we're going to put the nose in, because that, once you have the nose in, that will tell you where the eyes are going to go. So it's tangerine for the nose. And all it is your liner brush. And you're actually, when you're looking down at the face, you're not going to go, you're going to kind of make your line starting at an angle. So here's your cheek, here's the little bit of an angle, and then you're just going to kind of move forward in a triangle, okay? If you go up, you know, you can make it a little higher. You can, mine's kind of pointing down a little more, but that's all right. So there's his little nose. So there's his cheek and his little nose is right there. And his eyes are just triangles. And I didn't base coat triangles. I just used my liner brush and laid them in there. And I'll just show you up here how I did it. I just kind of put them in like this and then just got just like that. Oh, can you see that? So I just laid it in at the bottom of line and then just kind of worked my way up and just get it, making the lines a little shorter. And that's how I did his eyes. Okay, so just like that. And then I just added his little eyebrows and his mouth, which the way my nose is, you're not going to really see his mouth so much, but that's all right. Can't forget to highlight his little eyes. Oh, and you have to add a highlight on the little cheek too. Okay, so I'll let you guys get there, get caught up with that, and then we're gonna scoot back to showing you how to do some dip dots. Which I don't think I need to show you. We're gonna go through it, but I know you all know how to obviously use your stylus. Okay, so for the dots on the top section here, what I did first was with a little bit of, I think, I gotta look at, I think it's asphalt. Oh no, I'm sorry. It is with honey. You want to add a little bit of floats around these top cookies. Okay. So you just want to add a little float here, here. Okay. And then with the green tea, and I believe it's the cinnamon drop, you're going to add some dip dots. This is fresher. And then, but now these dip dots up here are kind of small, so you're just going to use, you know, regular stylus with the small end. And you're going to add your little dip dots with both colors. Okay. Now you also have to add them onto the tree and your cookies. So when these are semi-dry, you're going to take the honey brown and you're going to float underneath the dip dots, but lightly. So it's going to look like those little dip dots are sitting in the frosting. Okay, just like that. Now, it's the same thing with the second, with the middle cupcake, but they're all red. They're all the Tuscan, and they're a little bit bigger. So you're going to want to use the bigger end of your stylus, and if you need to, just add more paint to make them so just like that. You don't want a lot of them. You want to be able to get down and float underneath them. Okay. Now, the ones in the middle are the same as the ones at the bottom, but they're the red, the green, and the white. And they are bigger. And they're just shaded with a different color. Oops. Get some white. So then with your second cupcake, and oh, it also has a berry, which I didn't really line mine up well, so I'm just going to stick it right in the middle. But soft black is what you use to float underneath these berries. Okay. Brush. So on here, you're gonna float the edge of the frosting. And then you're gonna go underneath the berry a little bit. If you're not here yet to this part, float the edges of the frosting first. Okay, so you're gonna float the edge right here. And you're gonna float underneath the candy sprinkle. And that's really gonna make it stand out. You're also gonna go underneath or right next to this top cupcake with the soft black and around the holly leaves. So that really makes those candies pop out, those red candies. And then you need to put highlights on, well, all your sprinkles are going to get a white highlight. So obviously on these at the top, it's really tiny and you just use your liner brush and you tap it in. These will be a little easier. Okay. And then these last ones, same thing. They all get a highlight. Now we've already floated on all this frosting except for underneath the sprinkles. And so you're just going to take your your Hauser dark green, and you're just going to float underneath each sprinkle. Probably should have done it the other ones like I did on this one. Float shade everything but the sprinkle part. Next time. So you're just going to float underneath each sprinkle with the Hauser dark, which I love this color. And so each sprinkle set back. Okay. Everybody liking their piece so far? Good. It's all that matters to me. Now I know we're not going to make it to complete the whole piece, but I do want to walk you through it after you get this part of it done. And then I'll walk you through the rest of it, and it's all just your basic. Some stencil, some floating. The words are used with a script liner. So I don't know if you guys, I think I gave you both options. You can have it say Cupcake Shop, Boutique Day Cupcake. You can have it say nothing or whatever you want, but it's all lined in Tuscan red. I'm almost, wait, let me, no, cinnamon drop. So it's cinnamon drop, and I didn't have a stencil. I used part of a stencil, but then I had to kind of recreate letters and all this stuff. So I just put it on there as the pattern. You just have to line it in and then just add some white highlights to it. And then there's some checks around the entire thing in lamp black. So. Oh, you know what too, though? Before the lettering went on and the checks, I did the stencils. I think it's all in the, it's all in the instructions, but I did the stencils. And then I float shaded around the entire edge of the surface and then around each object with asphaltum. You don't have to do every single area. Like it, because on your pattern, it shows you where I shaded and highlighted. You don't have to do all of that, but you do have to do like the bottom of the cupcakes, a little bit here and there, just so it sets back those objects. And it's okay that you go over the snowflakes. And then once that's in, I would do your border first and then, border first and then try to fit where you want to fit your wording in. Or measure them both out first, but it got a little tricky for me. Maybe you should put the letters on first, the words. And then that would be it. You guys have any questions about anything?
Liz,
Yeah.
what color did you put underneath the sprinkles or the dots on the top cupcake?
Honey,
What did-
honey brown.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. So I'll tell you what happened when I was doing this, and normally you would put the cross hatching first and then you'd shade over it, but it kept looking so dirty that I just put it, it wasn't gonna look right. So if you're wondering why the cross hatching is kind of just sitting on top and we just floated back over the top and the bottom of it, that's my reasoning behind it. Maybe I'm the only one that can tell, I don't know. Ooh. That's a fall. Okay. Well, I can see that there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 from California, and it's stinking hot today. I think. I don't like it when it gets in the 90s. See, where the- oh. I'm going to put you guys on mute for a second. I'm still here. Okay. Is everybody good? Okay, 'cause you can, on the pattern packet, there's my email and phone number and all that if you need to call or contact me if you have any questions. Don't forget, Diana.
I'll do it tonight. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is so cute. I love it.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. Super cute.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I think I'm gonna put some sparkles on this too, maybe
Oh,
some
yeah.
glitter.
Yeah, glitter, whatever. I'm glad you came. It was nice to meet you, Darlene. I don't think I've met you before. I don't think in person, not in Zoom person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. It was fun.
Good seeing you, Tammy. Good seeing you, Kim.
Did it on a block. You need to see.
Oh my gosh. You need
Oh.
to post that.
Oh,
I just did the
wow.
cupcakes and I'm gonna put lights in it.
Oh, how cute is that?
Wow.
What a great
Adorable.
idea. Great idea. Leave it to Tammy for the glass. Perfect. That will
Did
look pretty
too.
that will look really pretty, like even on a front porch, maybe. I don't know. Dining table.
Yeah, I think I'll put lights, white lights in it and then put a candy cane, ribbon around it.
Yeah.
I don't know if
good.
it'll be too much, maybe putting white dots in here. I don't know. I have,
Well,
I
the pattern calls for it. It's snowflakes.
yeah, well, I
and
didn't want to put snowflakes because I don't have a snowman on here.
Okay.
So
okay.
I didn't want to do that, but for my shows, I'm doing a whole gingerbread theme.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's
Very
why I
good.
thought this would go perfect with it.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Well, thanks, Kim. Good seeing you again. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks,
Thank
Liz.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you. Bye, Cheryl. Bye, Sandy.